So in this video, I wanted to touch more about living in Bali, which is considered the island of the gods. And some people like to refer to it as the place where everyone starts over. Mentioned in my previous video, once I got to Bali, I instantly felt like this is where I belonged. Surprisingly, I did not have culture shock at all. Maybe because I'm from a small town, and once I got to Bali, it kind of gave me that small town feel. Even though it's a large island, it's still just super cozy. I think that's the best way I can describe it. So I didn't have culture shock, and I lived in Bali for 1 year. And primarily I stayed in the Seminyak area, which has like a lot of bars, clubs, shopping, resorts, villas, you name it. So I felt the most comfortable living in Seminyak, but I did spend a couple of months in Canggu. And Canggu, I like to refer to as like the Jersey Shore because it's a lot going on in Canggu. But Seminyak was like my home. One of the many things I love about living in Bali was the accessibility to everything. So I could walk to my favorite cafe, my favorite spa. Although the sidewalks and the roads are not very walkable, you still have the option. But for the most part, I took a bike to those places. So Bali has the two apps that I'm aware of are called Gojek and Grab. So you can order a motorbike, someone can come pick you up, or you can order a car. So I primarily took the bike everywhere. It was faster, it was easier, and it was cheaper. And one thing I will say is I absolutely adore being a passenger princess. I have not driven a vehicle since April 2023. And honestly, having a car is a scam in my opinion. It's a whole scam. Once I got back to Bali in July of 2023, I started working on my drop shipping company, and also I started teaching English online. I absolutely love that Bali gave me the time and the space to really get back into my creativity because I had lost it for so long. Like, I'm naturally a creative person, but when you're working a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, for me, when I got home, like, I didn't want to work on any hobbies or any goals. Like, I just wanted quiet and to watch TV, and that was it. So once I got to Bali and I started like just coming up with creative ideas for the drop shipping company and how to incorporate that into like my journey of healing, it all just started to align for me. And I love that Mama Bali gave me that opportunity to get back into my creativity. I was living a very simple life. I didn't feel the pressure to always be productive because you have expats, digital nomads from around the world coming to Bali and working, but I didn't feel the pressure of needing to do stuff or needing to be productive. Like, if I wanted to just stay in the bed all day, I could do that and not feel guilty about it. Although, not gonna lie, I still kind of struggle with that because sometimes I'll tell myself like, oh, I should get up and do something. But why? Like, you now have the luxury of rest. Like, this is something that we as humans need. Like, we need rest, and we don't need to be on every single day. So I started to unlearn a lot of the things that I had been programmed to think was acceptable in society, like being productive, hustling, and all of this. And I'm just like, no, this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. So being in Bali gave me just the energy of relaxation, gave me the energy of a peace of mind, and just walking to the beach on a random Wednesday afternoon to catch the sunset. Like, this is what luxury looks like and feels like for me. One of the things I researched was to visit a shaman because I was interested in the experience. And it was me and one other girl, and we went to visit the shaman, and we had an interpreter there, and I remember him telling me certain things that I knew and then certain things that I had no idea about. And it was such a spiritual experience for me, and I felt so emotional, but it felt like I was being cleansed. It felt like I was seen. Bali has 6 ley lines that run through Bali, and that's why so many people are called. They feel like they're called to Bali. That's why Bali feels so spiritual and so healing, because of these ley lines. And it resonated so much with me because, again, I wasn't planning to come to Asia. Like, I was thinking more of like South America, maybe Mexico, maybe somewhere in Europe. Not really, but you know, it was an option. People would ask me, you know, why Bali? And my response was, well, Bali called me. I remember connecting with a few people in Bali, and we were having a conversation one day, and all 4 of us, we were in Atlanta at the same time, but we never met. We never crossed paths. But we were like, we were supposed to meet here. You know, you just never know who's going to come across your path and your journey, and how you can influence them, and vice versa. So I love that Bali just brings people together. Another advantage of living in Bali is you are spoiled rotten, okay? I was spoiled. I did not have to clean. I did not have to do my laundry. I mentioned that I didn't drive. Like, spoiled. To the point where I was a little bit uncomfortable with it, because I am very self-sufficient. I'm very independent. But the fact that people just naturally wanted to do things to help me was just like, oh, okay, all right, I need to like lower my walls and allow people to help. So yeah, like I never had to clean. I did my own cleaning, but I never really had to clean. I never did my laundry. I never drove a vehicle. Like, I was spoiled in Bali. I was spoiled rotten. So some things that people may not talk about in regards to Bali. Every place has their pros and cons, okay? Let me just start by saying that. I will say the pros definitely outweigh the cons. However, there are some things about Bali that it took a while to get used to. You know, one day you may just be sitting outside of a coffee shop, or you may be in a restaurant with your friends, and you may just see a rat crawl up on the roof, or, you know, run past you, and it's like, oh, oof, that's a whole rat. Okay, all right, rats. Ooh. So that's one of the things, is it's an island, so you're going to have little critters everywhere. I remember I had lizards in my room, and they don't bother you, but you may have a lizard, you may have spiders, you know, rats. Maybe not in the room, but you'll see rats. Also, depending on what part of Bali you're living in, you may have a monkey come in your room if you leave your door open. So that's just Bali. Another thing is personal space and boundaries. I just want to say that it's really non-existent in Bali. You know, people be in your business, and that's something that I had to get used to. But it's like, you can do a gentle pushback and say, like, that's not something I discuss, or, you know, you can find ways to maneuver through it. But personal space and boundaries, honey, I didn't really have that. Sometimes it's not always the most sanitary. I did get sick a few times, a lot actually. I got sick a lot. But they have great medical services, so I was able to recover. But you know, the water, sometimes the food gets contaminated and you may get sick. But it happens when your body is not used to a place. And one thing I definitely want to mention is, if you're into tattoos like I am, if you're contemplating on getting a tattoo, wait until you travel to Bali. If Bali is on your travel list and you want to get a tattoo, please wait until you get to Bali. When I tell you their artwork and their detail is sick, like it's insane how talented they are. Overall, like the pros definitely outweigh the cons. The culture of Bali is rich, very, very rich. They have ceremonies often, and you'll hear like the music and all of that, and you'll see them dressed in their Balinese traditional attire. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful culture. I can't stress that enough. It's amazing to witness. And they have this holiday called Nippy, which is Silent Day, where no one works. I mean, unless you're like in the hospital, you're like in healthcare, but no one works. Everyone is to stay at home. Some religions, you're not supposed to eat or like watch TV or anything, or use like any like electricity.
I did not follow that rule because I needed to watch TV.
The fact that the island recognized the importance of Silent Day, like there was no travel. You couldn't even travel in or out of Bali. The airport was shut down. So the fact that they recognize how important it is for people to get rest, and whether you're resting, you're meditating, or spending time with your family, just having that day to yourself, I feel like a lot of countries can learn from that. Some of my most fond memories of my time in Bali would be like going to the beach, watching the sunset, and you'll have guys out there playing the guitar and singing. Like they would teach me some Bahasa Indonesian and I would teach them some English. And just that exchange amongst each other, like we have more in common than we know. Like we have different cultures, different religions, different beliefs, but we are more connected than we actually realize. And being in Bali and just traveling has taught me that. I did make connections, and I was able to learn from other people and hear more about their journeys and share my journeys, and we connect on that level and just talk about our experiences being in Bali, and like, oh, where are you going for your next visa run? Oh, I'm going here. Let's meet up there in another country. Like, it's important to have that because you can get very lonely here. You can get lonely, by yourself. So I always say building connections and having a community is very important. Another thing I will say about Bali and just traveling in general, I feel better on an energetic level, on a spiritual level, and on an emotional level. I feel like I physically look better because I'm eating healthier foods. I'm getting a lot of sunlight, and it really has made a difference. I feel like I'm getting back to the person that I've always been, but I lost her along the way through just life. So I just know that what I'm doing and the way that God has called me to take this journey has been for my betterment. Is I still have fears. I still have worries. I still have anxious thoughts because I am living a human experience, and those emotions are very human, especially with taking leaps of faith, because it took a lot for me to make this journey, because I played it safe for so long and this sounded crazy to me. But I really had to strengthen my relationship with God. And when I have those emotions, I acknowledge them, but I no longer dwell in them. Because that's like me telling God, I don't trust you. I don't trust that you're going to continue to guide me on this path, provide for me on this path. And I saw this quote on Instagram that said, worrying is like worshiping the problem. And that just really did a whole like mindset change for me, because it's true. You're going to have worries in life, but don't stay in that place. Know that rain doesn't last forever. We're going to have our rainy seasons, but the bright side of that is we're also going to have our sunny seasons. So once that 1 year mark of me living in Bali was approaching, I got a download one night, and I knew that it was time to transition from Bali to another country. because I had so many beautiful experiences. I tapped back into my creativity. I made beautiful connections with people. I got a certain level of peace and rest that I hadn't had in so long. But it was like the universe was nudging me to say, okay, now it's time to go. Now you got what you needed from Bali. Now it's time to go explore a different country and see what you can get out of that experience. And it's always important to listen to that inner knowing. Always important to just keep constant communication with God, because you'll know when it's time to move, when God says it's time to go. So Bali will always have a special place in my heart, and I'm sure I'll visit again one day. But I knew that I had got what I needed and that it was time to go. Anyone who has the opportunity to travel to Bali, I highly recommend. It's a beautiful, beautiful island. The people are amazing. They're warm, they're friendly, they're always smiling. You can have a great community. There's like Black in Bali community there. They also have like Christian communities as well. So you'll be able to find your people. Or if you're just there for a short amount of time, you know, just exploring the island itself is amazing. So if you have any questions or comments or any recommendations of videos you would like to see from me in the future, please leave them in the comment section below. I would love your feedback. And until next time.